What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Dynasty Overload podcast. So, coming at you guys today, we're going to talk about maximizing value, especially in a startup draft. We're going to talk about strategy. We're going to talk about different things that we can do to enhance our team when it comes to rookies. Now we're doing all these startups that have rookies in it, right? We're doing all these different startups. And then I'm going to talk about where to grab value and kind of where to go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and run our intro. We're going to get this thing on and popping. Let's get it.
You're listening to the Dynasty Overload podcast.
You know who not bomber class rampant? You know me? I am the original Dandana. You understand the road boy? I don't want to ramp with bomber class me. Come on.
Listening to the Dynasty Overload podcast.
All right, guys. So I'm your host, Manny, and this is going to be me on this episode. But we are definitely going to have a pod where me, Shilor, and Razman finally get together to do a pod. So, like I said, maximizing value, right? Where do you go from there? Like when you're doing your startups, I'm going to walk through a couple of my startups that I've started so far with the rookies being involved. So for one, I was drafting out of the 104 spot, right? And I had to, when you're drafting out of that 104 spot, you want to grab those elite quarterbacks, right? Usually I go safer instead of getting the Jalen Hurts, but in this particular scenario, I grabbed Jalen Hurts at 4. Usually I get a Joe Burrow there. That's who really I wanted. But when Joe Burrow went, I figured I love the upside of Jalen Hurts over a guy like a Herbert or anybody else that's available for quarterback. So that's me maximizing value there. If there's a 4 top elite quarterbacks, right? You have your Josh Allen, you have your Patrick Mahomes, and your Joe Burrow, right? That number 4 for me, it could be Jalen Hurts. It can be Herbert. I took Jalen Hurts because he has the most upside. Now, the longevity thing is always something that we have to battle, right? So I took Jalen Hurts, and then with my next pick, I was picking at the 207, and I was able to trade back a few spots, or trade up a few spots to grab my very first A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts stack. That's just a stack that's very hard to get based off of how the draft went. I was able to grab my first stack in this particular draft. Amon-Ra St. Brown went at the 201, then Bijan Robinson, Garrett Wilson at the 203, Christian McCaffrey, then Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson. So with all these different rookies, it's going to push players backwards. Usually without the rookies, A.J. Brown is a player that goes rather early, right? So I was able to make the trade. I did like a little swap and then swapped again in the later round to secure that stack. So that's me maximizing value once again. That's really what I do in my drafts. I don't come in with a certain strategy and say I'm going to target this player, that player. I just target the value. So in this particular draft, Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, they go next, right? Dak Prescott, he's the next of that second tier of elite quarterbacks in Dynasty. He still has the age, and he definitely has the production, especially when healthy. So when they came back to me, I was seriously considering a Kyler Murray at 304. But with the way that the draft is going, you have to look at the trends. What I was able to notice was a lot of these young, valuable wide receivers were going in a fresh draft like this, seeing Breece Hall go at the 302 and then Jahmyr Gibbs go at the 303, a light bulb went off. If I want JSN, I have to grab JSN at the 304. If not, JSN is gone forever. Also, somebody was actually trying to trade up. It was Shilor. He was trying to trade up with me to a 304. And I have to say, look, if it's not my guy, you got him. You know, it would have been moving back a few spots. But luckily for me, I knew that if I didn't grab JSN here, I'm not going to have JSN. So that's another guy that I love to target in startups in any draft, really. I have tons of JSN shares. I look at JSN as this year's Garrett Wilson. You want to be on the front end of these valuable pieces than be on the back end. Trying to trade for Garrett Wilson now, you're talking about 2 first plus. So you want to get in, grab JSN now before the breakout, before what can be for JSN. And I love JSN in that offense in Seattle. We talked about this on the previous pod. Moving on along. It was a tough choice going either JSN or Kyler Murray. Sometimes you have to make executive decisions, and you guys are going to see how I was able to make up the rest of my team, even though I didn't grab a QB there. Daniel Jones goes next, and now I'm like, okay, with my next pick, I have to grab my next quarterback because these quarterbacks are going rather fast. It's a super tight end premium, meaning the tight ends get 2 receptions per catch. 2 points per catch. Tyreek Hill goes, and then to kind of fast forward a little bit, Kenny Pickett goes in that next tier of guys, right? So now I have a decision to make at the 409. The guy in front of me just takes Jared Goff. So I know if I want to continue to add these young, talented, potential wide receivers, Drake London is a guy that's big on my list. I grab a lot of Drake London shares because I believe that he is the number 1 in ATL. Yes, you have a tight end in Pitts. Yes, you have Bijan Robinson. But in terms of wide receiver, he's going to be the wide receiver 1. It's going to be undisputed, and he's going to get as many targets as anybody in the league this year. Drake London and Treylon Burks are 2 players that I continue to target in drafts because of their ADP, first of all, in terms of Burks. Burks seems to go lower than a lot of these young up-and-coming wide receivers. You look at it 2 years ago, Burks was being drafted in the first round, right? As early as 103. I've seen him go as early as 105. So in that deep draft, they had Olave and all these different guys. So Treylon Burks is somebody that I'm targeting, but where I'm targeting him or where I'm grabbing him, it's beautiful. I was able to grab Treylon Burks in this same draft at the 704. That's value right there. You can't get that kind of value anywhere else. And in the same round, I will take Treylon Burks over anybody selected in this round. Somebody took Will Levis, which was a little bit too high for me. Jameson Williams, Amari Cooper. Jahan Dotson was a guy I tried to target in the next round, and he's another guy that's on my list. Jahan Dotson is so underrated, and he's so disrespected. You want to grab you as many Jahan Dotson shares as possible. He's going to be a guy that as Terry McLaurin gets older or when it's time to pay a Jahan Dotson, he can be a guy. He's going to be a guy this up-and-coming season. I believe that Sam Howell is going to really help to elevate his game. And you're talking about a guy who can have over 800 yards receiving, over 6, 7, 8, 9 touchdowns. He was a touchdown machine in his first year. And he's a guy that I believe can have anywhere between 70 to 85 receptions. He's that good. As long as Terry McLaurin is there, he's capped on what he can do. But like I said, you want to grab these guys on the front end. You want to grab these rookie wide receivers with upside, second year, first year, second year, third year. You want to grab these guys before they get that next initial contract, because by then they're now a household name and they're now on a whole nother level that's just crazy and amazing. So you want to grab these guys early and often. I promise you guys. So moving along, Jerry Jeudy. He's another guy I love to target. I didn't get to get him in this draft. It's sad, but Jerry Jeudy has such great upside with Sean Payton being there, Russell Wilson possibly being revived. They were able to have a great rapport and chemistry last year. You can go back and look at the last 2 to 3 games of the season. That's something that they can carry over and continue to build as they move forward. Now, I was able to grab Kirk Cousins in the 5th round at the 505. Sometimes you have to go grab your guy. Kirk Cousins is a guy that has all the talent in the world to be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. I'm just saying, like in terms of a numbers perspective. This year, what has been added for Kirk Cousins? You have Jordan Addison, you have KJ Osborne, who's going to play well. He broke out last year. And then, of course, you have Justin Jefferson. You have a TJ Hawkinson in a full year, in a full offseason with these guys. So I love the weapons that Kirk Cousins has. The sky's the limit for them. And then don't forget Dalvin Cook. He's a guy that can catch some passes out the backfield. Alexander Madison, Dwayne McBride is another guy. So Kirk Cousins has a very, very talented offense. As long as that offensive line holds up, the sky's the limit for Kirk Cousins this year. Realistically, I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback this year in terms of numbers. So he's a guy that I'm targeting even at the age of 34. People are saying, where is Kirk Cousins going to go? Is he leaving? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if Kirk Cousins leaves Minnesota, he's going to go somewhere else, and he's going to start, and he's going to get numbers. He's a guy that's always durable. Kirk Cousins has played. So ever since 2015, when Kirk Cousins started to start, he started every game from 2015 to 2018. Then in 2019, he missed one game. Kirk Cousins has missed one game ever since he became a starter in 2015. He's very durable, okay? He's a guy that has finished quarterback 10, 5, 6, 13, 19, 11, 11, 6, 6. So he's always a QB1 outside of 2 seasons. Kirk Cousins is a good get. Continue to grab this guy. He's so undervalued. So that's my value at quarterback when you're looking at that QB2, that second guy to start for your team. If you risk it all and you go, skill position 4 times in a row, you could potentially get Kirk Cousins in the 5th round if you do it right. So I know some guys that like to go elite receivers first 4 picks and then end up with a Kirk Cousins as your QB1. It's not bad in redraft, but in Dynasty, you don't want Kirk Cousins being your QB1, especially if you don't have a plan on how to get younger in year 2 of your startup. So with this particular startup, let's go ahead and run through my team real quick because I have a few more teams to go through that hopefully this can help you guys as you're doing your startups, and this is with rookies being involved. So I went A.J. Brown, JSN, Drake London. Then I added 2 more guys in George Pickens and Treylon Burks. Like I said, these are guys that you're going to get later because nobody cares about them. They are not household names. They haven't done anything in year 1. So George Pickens, I love. Treylon Burks, I love. I believe these 2 guys take a major step in their game in 2023. Also, I was able to get a great value in drafting David Montgomery at the 1205. I believe that he's going to be a guy that's going to replace Jamal Williams, and he's way more talented than Jamal Williams. He does offer you some receiving upside. That's one thing that's so underrated about David Montgomery's game when you talk about receiving. So in his career so far, he's played in the league for 4 years, and he has 25 receptions, 54 receptions, 42 and 34. I get it. I know that Jahmyr Gibbs is there. Okay, I'm not taking anything away from Jahmyr Gibbs, but one thing I'm going to say is that David Montgomery is capable. He's 25 years old. He's going to be a touchdown machine. So the way that they use Jamal Williams, just look at David Montgomery as a major upgrade in what he brings to the table. He's a guy that has finished running back 4 in his second year, which was a fluke in a year that it was a down year. So it was a down year. He didn't score major points, but he was just good enough to be RB4. And also, what I'm liking about David Montgomery is that he's consistent. One thing you can say is, even in the shared backfield, even with everything that he did in a terrible offense with the Chicago Bears, he was still able to finish RB19 and RB24 respectfully in those 2 years. So, grab you some David Montgomery when you can. It's all about values. Also able to get Juju Smith-Schuster at the 1209. I believe that's great value. He's the undisputed wide receiver 1 out there. He's going to collect targets. He's going to be safe. He's not going to be somebody who puts up major numbers, but one thing you can say about Juju Smith-Schuster is that he does get targets. He had 101 targets last year with Patrick Mahomes. I believe he's going to get more, if not the same amount, this year with New England. He is still 26 years old. He's still a decent target, 215, 6'1". He had just under 1,000 yards last year, and then he had 3 touchdowns. I believe he has more touchdowns this year. I believe he has more receptions this year and more targets. So, yeah, get you some Smith-Schuster if you can. Also, some quarterbacks that I like to grab at value when I'm doing these startups is Sam Howell, Mac Jones, and Jimmy G. For one, nobody trusts Sam Howell. Nobody knows what Sam Howell can be. So he's a wild card. So you grab him as your 3rd or 4th quarterback sometimes. If you want to be cheap, he's a nice QB3. If you want to gain some value, grab him as your 4th guy, and maybe he balls out, then you can flip him potentially for a low 24 first. It's very possible. Also, Mac Jones, there were talks about Bailey Zappi taking over, so we don't know what could happen with that whole situation, but I'm telling you this. I'm grabbing all the Mac Jones that I can grab. Because if it does work out, he's still under his rookie deal. He's going into year 3. Why not? He finished QB 23 last year, and in his rookie season, he was QB 18. With the right tools, Mac Jones can be a top 15 QB easily. So I'm banking on that top 15 upside for Mac Jones, and if he finally puts it together, he can definitely take a major leap in year 3. Rookie season, 3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He's not a guy that's going to wow you. He's just a guy that's consistent. So I love Mac Jones, add value. Also, Jimmy G, he's a guy that's being disrespected. He's always being disrespected. What is the value of Jimmy G? History tells you he's going to get hurt. But when he's healthy, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I say that because there's not a lot of good quarterbacks in the league. And Jimmy G is consistent. Like, he's going to be a guy that gets you about 20 to 27 touchdowns. He's going to be a guy that goes from maybe 4 interceptions to 12 interceptions. He's a steady. He's pretty much a Mac Jones, but a vet. So these are 2 Mac Jones. He's still only 31. I believe that he has major weapons this year, the best weapons he's ever had in his life, in playing with a Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers, and then also they drafted a Michael Mayer. So I love Jimmy G, where he's going in drafts. Now I'm going to run through this just real quick. So some rookies that I'm looking at, some rookies that I do enjoy grabbing in drafts, guys like Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice, he's a guy that could hit. He could hit because when Juju Smith-Schuster left KC, who do they really have? You have Kadarius Toney. He hasn't really been consistent. You have Sky Moore. We don't know who he is so far. Then you have, of course, you have Kelsey. But then you have a bunch of Jags at that wide receiver position. So why not grab a guy that actually gained great draft capital in Rashee Rice? If he balls out, guess what? You are on the front end and not the back end. So grab you some Rashee Rice, especially if the price is good. The next guy I want to talk about is Tyjae Spears. I know he didn't go to the perfect landing spot. A lot of people are pissed off right now. A lot of people are mad right now, but here's what's to come. Derrick Henry, we don't know how long he has. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Derrick Henry will not be in Tennessee for more than 2 years. So 2 years, he's gone. Maybe this year, next year, that's it. Then now you have Tyjae Spears in this rookie deal. When this guy finally gets on the field and starts to ball out, when you start to hear reports in camp, it's going to be a little bit too late. So anywhere you can grab Tyjae Spears, you grab him. In a rookie draft, this guy went at 302 in a 12-man league. It's crazy. He's being disrespected. They're looking at him as a guy that's not going to touch the field because of a Derrick Henry. But if Derrick Henry's moved this offseason, let's say the Titans start out bad and they're playing terrible and they have to move Derrick Henry to kind of gain some kind of draft capital, especially mid-season, during the season, right before the trade deadline. Tyjae Spears now becomes a guy that can ball out, and then you be like, oh, man, I could have had this guy, and I didn't grab him. So grab Tyjae Spears when you can, add value. I'm going to give you guys a quick story. Do you guys remember when I can't remember. It just escaped my mind. There was a running back, Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde with the Browns. He was the guy, right? Nick Chubb was the guy that was behind him. When they moved Carlos Hyde, Nick Chubb really showed that he is a elite up-and-coming running back. So you want to grab these guys on the front end and not the back end. See, a lot of times you have to reprogram your mind from redraft to dynasty. You have to think with the end in mind. You have to think with a GM mindset, like a long-term mindset. Like, okay, Tyjae Spears, rookie deal, 4 years. He's going to eventually get some burn. So Tyjae Spears is a guy that I like. Kendre Miller, his name is getting out there. He's going to be used heavily in New Orleans, even in year one. And we all know that all these rookie backs usually get their time to shine after week 9, towards the back end of the season, especially when it's a lost cause season or a season is done with. Coaches usually bench their vets and go with these rookies to kind of see what they have. And if this guy comes in and balls out, it doesn't matter who they brought in. I don't care that they brought in Jamal Williams. What does his contract say? So you want to look at the contracts being given to these vets. You want to look at the situation. You want to look at guaranteed money. And you want to be on the front end. So in this startup, right, when I go into a startup, I go in with the mindset that I don't have to win right now. That's the major mistake that people make, is building a team that's going to win the championship, because it doesn't always happen like that. There was a league that I drafted last year that I drafted A.J. Dillon and maybe Rashad White and then Jamal Williams as a handcuff or whatever. I didn't grab any running backs. I like to grab my running backs cheap, but I maximize getting these stud wide receivers, getting these quarterbacks, and then build out the rest of my team. So having these backs that were kind of like funny, including Damian Harris, they all just worked for me. I was able to draft Brian Robinson later. He popped. So when I do my drafts, I try to get my rookies cheap. So I was able to get Kendre Miller at the 809. I think that's great value. And then Roschon Johnson at the 1109. Now, there were some other guys in this same draft doing what I was doing, so I should have gone higher to get a Tajay Spears, but I missed Tajay Spears in this draft. Roschon Johnson, he's another guy that I love. There's going to be a time when it's going to be the Roschon Johnson show. Right now, you're looking at Khalil Herbert. Right now, you're looking at Deontay Foreman, right? And you're saying these guys are threats to Roschon Johnson. But like I said, when you grab these rookies, let the dust settle. Let's see what these guys are looking like from week 10 moving forward. So sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. Last year, I was able to grab a Rachaad White, and he was able to pan out for me. Rachaad White worked out beautifully for me. So I love when the plan comes together. Charbonnet, another guy that I loved coming out of UCLA. I was thinking this guy was going to be a 3-down back. He's Nick Chubb with hands, and then he ended up going to the worst ultimate landing spot. I hated that he went to the wrong landing spot. And, it just is what it is. For those that are watching live, please subscribe to the Dynasty Overload YouTube channel. We are new there, and we're trying to gain some subscribers. If you guys are enjoying the content, please like the video and please share it out. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm going to be doing more of these streams moving forward. I'm enjoying it. Charbonnet, wish that I could have got him. I wish that he could have gone to a better landing spot. He goes to share a backfield with Kenneth Walker. But the thing is, he's going to be more of the receiving back. So do not give up on Charbonnet. After the draft, I gave up on Charbonnet, and I lost out on Charbonnet in 5 drafts because I was pissed off that he went to Seattle. But when I came to my senses, I had to realize that he's going to be the guy that gets a lot of the receiving work. So there's still room for Charbonnet to be a double-digit type guy moving forward. So grab some Charbonnet if you can. Devin Achane is a guy that I love. I love the landing spot, him going to Miami. So I am grabbing a lot of Devin Achane shares. But the problem with him is his frame. I don't know how long he's going to last in the league, but typically I am not expecting for my backs to last more than 4 years anyway. If my backs give me more than 4 productive years, then guess what? I'm excited. The way that I kind of do my thing is I draft my backs in their rookie year. I grab them year 2 or whatever the case may be. I use them right before they get that next contract. They're off my team. And then I go ahead and draft the new running back coming into the league. Next year, there'll be several different backs coming in next year. So I'm excited for that. So, yeah, this is one team. Let me go ahead and put you guys on game. Let me check out my other team and kind of give you guys a synopsis of how that draft is going and what I'm able to do in these drafts that are now a mixture of rookies and vets. It's always interesting. While I'm talking, one of my sleeper tight ends, Chig, just got snatched up. It was between Chig and McBride for me. Those are 2 late-round targets. Even in tight end premium leagues, you can grab these guys and you can know, hey, they are headed towards the right direction. And if these guys pop, they can give you premium numbers for tight ends. If you look at Chig, Titans did nothing but bring in Josh Wiley. He's going to be more of a backup anyways, especially in year 1. And then you see what you have. Even if Josh Wiley's a man, at least we got to see it on the field, right? But I love me some Chig. I love me some Trey McBride. I believe he takes a step this year. Usually takes tight ends 3 years to really fully break out. So he could break out in year 2, being that the Cardinals are limited with pass catchers. They're limited with talent. So, he could be a guy that takes that major leap. So looking at my team in this league, I had the 1-on-1 spot. So I took Patrick Mahomes. So at that spot, it's usually tough to kind of like hit on your players. Let me pull it up another way. So in this particular league, they had the 3-round or the 3rd round reversal. And I hate that because you draft at the 101, right? It goes around, right? Then it comes back. So I drafted the 212. Usually you go 3-1 right after, right? But in this particular league, I had to, now pick at 312. So it really hurt my chances on building the kind of team that I wanted to build because I would have had premier guys like Brees Hall at that 301 or Jonathan Taylor, but it's all good. So I was able to kind of build my team this way. I made no trades because I was busy when this draft started. I took Patrick Mahomes, and I was able to get Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 212. I think that's great value. He's a guy that's a middle-round guy, but because of the rookies, because of guys like Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud going here, it was able to, I had to just push things backwards. When you have 3 rookie QBs to go in the second round, it's going to push talent down. So that was great to get Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 212. Now, at the 312, after waiting literally, it felt like like 4 days. It felt like missing out on so many guys that I can grab. I could have easily gone Devontae Smith and Drake London, but I went Travis Etienne and Devontae Smith, and then the very next pick, Drake London goes. As you guys can see from my previous team, you guys know I love me some Drake London, but having Etienne, you want to have at least one elite back. Even though I kind of fade running backs when I'm doing my startups, I like to grab value at running back and kind of see what happens. So, but for me, here I said, let me go ahead and just get one of the elites. I took Travis Etienne, and then I took Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith is going to take over as the number 1 wide receiver in about 2-3 years on that Eagles team. I took George Pickens with my very next pick at the 512. Then I followed up with Ramondre Stevenson. I love Ramondre Stevenson. I love how the Patriots didn't do anything in the draft. So getting a Ramondre Stevenson at the 601 is maximum value. He's a guy that can give you top 12 RB numbers once again, including Etienne. These are 2 guys that have the capability of receiving the ball. So I'm not upset or mad that I took Ramondre Stevenson and kind of broke away from my normal grabbing, these stud wide receivers. Treylon Burks was usually my pick there, but I took Ramondre Stevenson, and I'm very happy with the turnout. Now, at the 712, I took Aaron Rodgers. I had to grab another quarterback. Even though Aaron Rodgers is 90 years old, he's still a pretty good QB2. You can kind of tell I'm trying to win, but at the same time, I build my wide receivers really young because I'm trying to maximize on that upside. I took Jahan Dotson at the 801. That's great value, great maximum value, especially better here than that other draft that I went over. Took Mac Jones at the 912. I would take that value all day long. Was able to get my guy Rashee Rice at the 1001, and that's an underrated stack. Patrick Mahomes to Rashee Rice. If he hits this year, that's amazing. I was able to grab Tajay Spears at the 11-12. I love Tajay Spears there. Took Sam Howell at the 1201. One thing about me is once I start to build the core of my team and you continue to leave quarterbacks out there for me, I'm going to grab as many QBs as possible. I told you guys, Mac Jones, Sam Howell, these are the kind of guys that are always available in these spots. You want to grab them, stash them, keep them on your team. See, when I grabbed the Aaron Rodgers, I had to grab a Mac Jones and a Sam Howell to kind of, mesh the old with the young. You always kind of want to mix it up. Grab Brandon Cooks. I feel like he can come in and be a starter for me while guys like Rashee Rice and even Spears are kind of coming into their own. At tight end, I really didn't even have a plan. I took Luke Marshgrave at the 1401 and Gesicki at the 1512. Took Zach Evans. I believe that Zach Evans is one of those other sneaky type of backs. When you look at who's in front of him, Kyren Williams, he's a dud. Cam Akers, remember, they were trying to get rid of this guy. So if Cam Akers starts out slow, this is Zach Evans' backfield. Even though he didn't get the draft capital he was supposed to get, I don't care. I'm grabbing all the Zach Evans because if it came down to Cam Akers getting hurt, and you're looking at Zach Evans and you're looking at Kyren Williams, I mean, Zach Evans is going to dominate the touches because he's just the more talented back. Finished up the rest of this group with KJ Osborne and Rashid Shaheed. I think that Shaheed has a chance to be the number 2 out there. I know they drafted A.T. Perry, who I love. I know they have a few other guys here and there that they're trying to figure out. Michael Thomas, we don't know what's going to happen with him. So just want to kind of give you guys a few tips and a few guys that you guys should target and grab the value. Even when you're coming up until like the end of or the middle of your bench and you're like, who do I grab? You want to grab these quarterbacks like Tyler Huntley, guys like Stinson Bennett, guys like Zach Wilson, because when you grab these guys, they end up turning into something great. And when I've grabbed guys like this, these guys have turned into Jordan Love, who I now flipped for a late 23 first. So you want to grab these rookie or young quarterbacks that have upside. It's super flex. You just never know. You want to have a taxi squad that is full of quarterbacks. In one of my taxi squads, I believe I have 5 or 6 young quarterbacks. I have Hendon Hooker, Will Levis, Trey Lance. Yes, I still have Trey Lance. And then guys like Tyler Huntley and a few others. You want to just have as many young quarterbacks in your taxi. If you're playing tight end premium, make sure you have some tight ends that can turn into something. In one of my taxis, I had Isaiah Likely, I had Dulcich, I had Ferguson, I had Kate Otten. And now, a whole year later, these guys actually have some value. You want to build a deep team. You want to maximize your squad. And then who knows, you might be able to flip some of these players for picks to continue to add to your squad. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is your guy, Manny. This is the Dynasty Overload podcast. I'm going to be doing more of these, like I said. And moving forward, man, we're going to be having fun with this thing. For those of you guys that are watching on YouTube, please subscribe here. For those of you guys that follow our pod, listen audio version of it, please give us a 5-star on Apple. Please give us a rating. It really helps to boost the show as we grow. I tell everybody, each one, reach one. Please tell somebody else about this podcast. You guys can definitely find me on the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel, as well as on Twitter at MANNYCHOKUBA. I will catch you guys on that next episode. We are out.